Libra rising. How you doing, Libra? This is your reading for the Taurus full moon that happened on the 15th or 16th of November, depending on where you live. Apologies for the delay in getting this video out, but I work with 6-month cycles. So the energies that come through in these readings are going to serve you to the new moon in Taurus next year. Hello and welcome. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and I channel multi-dimensional energies through my body. You just heard some vocal light language there. And here's some physical light language, and all of this brings in healing, attunement, and activation codes to the messages that come through in this reading. So it's going to be going on throughout as I break down the astrology for Libra rising. I read for the rising signs. So for those of you who don't have Libra in the first house, look to the house that it does fall in. Look to the themes of that house, and you want to apply those themes along with all the other meaning you have going on in the sign of Libra to the messages that come through, because it will be as if that Libra energy, wherever it falls in your natal chart, if we get a flipper, has now energetically moved to the first house. So the astrology will always still link in from the rising sign. You've just got to add on your natal chart meaning on top of it. So I'm going to break down the astrology for the rising sign. And as I do so, I'm going to be pulling some tarot. So let me explain what's going on with the tarot. There's going to be 4 different piles. And the first pile is going to be, so it's a full moon, right? So it's an element of things coming to completion. It's a closing out of a cycle. And as always, there's often 2 sides of the coin. And so the first pile is more of the difficulties, the struggle bus of it all, the shadow work you've been doing, the sort of looking in a little bit more into the darkness, all of those things, or certain blockages that you've had that are now coming to an end with this full moon. And pile 2 is what's being integrated, what's coming to an end of all the work that you've done, the other side of the coin, the integrated activations, itoe, what's getting embodied in your vessel, right? You've done that particular part of the stage, and now it's kind of in your vibe. Pile 3, I said earlier, I work with 6-month cycles, and so even though the full moon does represent a closing out of a cycle, the cycles never end, guys. So it's with this wisdom and this elevation and this sort of deeper understanding with every full moon, we're then working with a new frequency, an elevated frequency, a download that's coming in from the moon that we then work with over the next 6 months. And so that's pile 3. It's what's being activated that you're then working with until the Taurus new moon. And then pile 4 is how to work with it, how to amplify it. So it gives you some helpful tips and tricks in order to really work with this frequency that's coming in. If you want a deeper understanding of this moon, I really recommend the collective reading, because that's where I break down the astrology in way more detail. And I'm going to break down the astrology in a fair amount of detail in this video, don't get me wrong, but I really sort of expand more on the energy of how all the celestial bodies are talking to each other, and that forms an energetic blueprint. That's like a little mini download that we get collectively over the next 6 months, just in general with the Taurus energy. And so that I pulled some collective tarot in there as well, so channeled messages, and so that acts as a baseline for the all 12 sign series. So as I said, if you want a deeper understanding of what's going to show up here and what I'm about to talk about, go pause this video, go watch the collective reading and come back. Right, I'm just going to pause the video for a second, because one of the 2 cats that is currently hanging out with me in this incarnation is looking out the window, and I think she wants to go and hang out with her sister. She hasn't quite figured out the cat flap. She just stares at it. Even as she watches her sister go through, she just stares at it. So there's a real sense of innocence there that might be hindering growth. And the flip side of that is having a lot of support by something bigger than yourself, because I often feel like the cats see us as giants, right? That there's this bigger energy that's able to do different things that facilitate their experience. And we can look at source that way, or God, or however you want to phrase it, that's coming in and helping like open a window rather than going through the door, the sort of the standard way of doing things, right? It's about finding different avenues and different portals to go through. Itiala dice ni molto feel that source is opening up a portal for you to work in a different way. Itiala dice ni molto ela. Ishala dice ni madu fala. Right, let's get into the astrology. So a Libra rising, where is this happening for you? Well, where did it happen even? It was in the 8th house. So you have Taurus in the 8th. And this is also ruled by Venus. And you are also ruled by Venus. So the Taurus moons and the Taurus transits, they're always going to have a bit more of a resonance with you because of the Venusian quality. So the 8th house, what are the themes of the 8th house with this full moon? So the 8th house represents the outside world's resources, right? The resources of anybody other than yourself, and the exchange between you and the outside world in regards to this, okay? So for some of this can be mortgages, loans, taxes, debt that's owed to you or debt that you owe. This also can be like bonuses and commissions, because it's dealing either with the resources of the outside world or sort of one-off chunks of money rather than the regular income over in Scorpio. And I will get to Scorpio because that's where the sun was and still is. It's getting close to Sagittarius season. I'm excited. After all of this heavy stuff of Scorpio season, I can just feel the integration of all of that is like opening up that fire energy of like really being able to feel alive after everything that's been going on. So bonuses, commissions, inheritance, both 3D and cosmic inheritance as well. It's not just limited to the material plane. And as I said, this is the give and exchange it's the exchange between you and anything other than yourself. So giving and receiving. So this can be time, money, energy, ideas, intimacy. It's where relationship dynamics show up, the lens in which those dynamics you operate with, and often how they show up for you. And in the 8th, we can have sort of scarcity complexes. We can have codependency, amongst other things. I mean, they certainly are the bigger things that we're working through as a collective. And with this full moon, this, just in general, if we strip out all the other astrology of it, just being in this house, the full moons can sort of release a lot of limiting beliefs and old paradigms. So I can see sort of blockages around healthy relationship dynamics, right? That doesn't just have to be romantic. That's with anything other than yourself. For some of you, you may have had some money come through. I remember when I had the last full moon that I had in the 8th house, someone owed me money, which I wasn't expecting, wasn't searching for. They had made the decision in the lead up that they were going to pay me on the full moon, having not realized what the astrology was. So that was very in alignment with that. So there may be something like a debt is being returned. It may be that you may be coming to an end of a cycle of you paying back a debt, right? And that's coming to an end. You can get some really cool downloads around that full moon from Source. This can elevate your relationship dynamic with Source, with the outside world, moving away from a fear mindset, a scarcity mindset, all of that good stuff. You might get like a bonus or a commission come in, or you've had that you've done the project, you've done the work, and now you're reaping the rewards from it. You might have just felt around this full moon elevated relationship dynamics where it's more in balance, where it's more harmonious, as well as potentially highlighting those that aren't, because you tends to highlight the work that we need to do over the next 6 months, like of what we need to work on. So it'll highlight some of the difficult energies as well as bringing them to the surface in order to be released. Now, in terms of the astrology for this moon was wild, and since then I genuinely feel like I've had a nervous system reset, because the moon was conjunct Uranus and the fixed star called Algol. And Algol is linked into the mythology around Medusa, so we can sort of summarize that as losing your head, like off with your head, as well as distorted, as well as fixed calcified energy. She turned things to stone, so things that have been immobilized, right, and limited, a capacity to change and evolve, as well as distorted narratives, because Medusa was deemed to be a monster, but there were certain things that led her to that space that were done to her, right? So it wasn't necessarily a conscious choice of that process. And so with Uranus, who is the path clearer, the breaker of Janes. Hello, if there's a Jane out there, the breaker of Jane. That it's very independent. Uranus is the most... Mars and Uranus, right? You get them when they're combined. Whoa, try telling that person what to do. Not a chance. So Uranus is incredibly independent. It's very inventive in its thinking. It doesn't like to conform. So it's finding ways to break outside of those conformities. It wants you to be confident, being your independent, unique self and walking your path. That's what I mean about the breaking of chains, the clear of the path of your soul's journey. Because so often we can get stuck in the denser frequencies and not hear our frequency, not hear our own frequency, and how our heart will sing truly, madly, deeply. Uranus blew up my entire life. Work, home, love, the whole thing, all at once. And it was quite disruptive at the time, but I wouldn't be who I am today without it. And I cannot thank Uranus enough for, even though it was quite sudden shifts and quite in your face tower moments, even though that's a Mars card, I always link it into Uranus as well. It genuinely serves. So if you face any of those things around the full moon, or if you're worried about something like that happening, just trust in it. And the way that you can kind of avert all of that energy is figure out, okay, what does my soul really want? What do I really want? Because that is you. Your soul is you. Your higher self is you. We just separate ourselves from those things because we feel sometimes we need a hierarchy of like someone else who's in charge rather than ourselves, and that's the process of the integration. So the moon is exalted in Taurus. It's our favorite sign to be in. All the needs of the moon are met by Venus, right? Feeling good in the vessel, right? Feeling nourished and your favorite things, and just very slowing down and being able to enjoy the moment. And so often the moon can struggle with that because it's all got a bit of anxiety and worry and caretaking energy. So the moon is raised on high. She's in all the qualities of the moon, your intuition, your emotional body, whether your needs are being met or whether how you give and receive nourishment, all of that's being raised up. And I can really see a lot of supportive energy coming in your deeper intuitive connection to relationship dynamics and being drawn to things that serve you and serve the other person rather than distortions there. You may find a cycle of your needs being met in a higher level from the outside world, from source, over the next 6 months because of the power of this moon, because the combination of those three, what strongly came through in the collective reading was a release of paradigms and thought processes and perceptions in the head, right? There's getting disconnected from us, that we're disconnecting from them. The stone, the calcification, the sort of stagnant energy of those are being broken down and dissolved. And this is allowing more capacity to incorporate the energy of the source into the 3D experience, right? Taurus is the personal connection to Earth. It's your physical senses. So often our body is like responding through trauma when it's in a safe space. And this algol Uranus energy is bringing in liberating old paradigms that have stopped you from genuinely feeling in your body that you live in an abundant universe, right? This magical reality that's always there, that we're just working through denser matrices to sort of elevate our consciousness and connect to that frequency, that there are miracles for everyone, that there's abundance for everyone. And so we've got to shift in our head in order to get our heart and our body connected. And so this moon overall is releasing things that have stopped you feeling good in the 3D realm, right? That Taurian Venusian energy, as well as bringing in eureka moments, because Uranus is very sudden ideas, sudden perspectives, that is just allowing more of the galactic energy to integrate into your consciousness and into your body, so you're feeling good about your incarnation. And Uranus can definitely be linked into the nervous system and the hyperstimulation of it, as well as this felt like a rebirth and a reboot of the nervous system. Often with strong Uranus transits in your chart. Staying away from coffee is often a good idea, otherwise you might have a bit of an upset. Because you're running on that sort of quick fire. Right, okay, so that's the major stuff going on with the moon. Now the sun is over in this other astrology, which I'm going to talk about. The sun is over in Scorpio, which for you is your second house of your skills and tools. It's your resources, your skills and tools in how you manifest and bring in a regular income, right? It's the things that you value, and most importantly, how you value yourself. If you don't value yourself truly, madly, deeply, if you externalize your needs to the outside world and the resources of others, right, you then value things that recreate that lack of value, that recreate that sense of separation. They're doing some interesting work with the throat chakra right now. Taurus rules the throat. And the sun is there giving you some vision and clarity around your skills and tools, right? Really elevating your perception around them, having a lot of focus in this area of your life. You may have been doing some work around value and how you value yourself and what do you really value and what's important to you. And obviously Scorpio goes into the darkness in order to reveal the truth, but it's a bit of an intense ride. It's a bit of an intense ride, but it's certainly worth it. And often the sun can highlight the work that you've done over in the 8th. So it may be that over the full moon you're encountering relationships where it's like, no, this isn't working for me. And rather than before trying to fix it, trying to make everything better, trying to distort yourself in order to receive that which you truly need to receive, you're like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna, you do you. I'm gonna go do me. Now, the sun and the moon are making harmonious aspects. So that's trine and sextile, and they are ruled by Jupiter and Venus. So these are the yes planets. These are the more sort of stereotypically favorable planets, although they all are. It's just, you know, Jupiter's the fun, the wisdom, Venus is the love, the joy, the creation energy, right? And so this is all happening in yin energy, all in earth and water. So they're making harmonious aspects to Pluto and Ceres, which is an asteroid, over in Capricorn, and Neptune over in Pisces. Now, what I'm going to very quickly summarize is I go into more detail in the Pluto in Capricorn oracle reading. Or I genuinely really recommend that across the board. I'm thinking of doing a longer lecture of that and then the next stage. Pluto's now in Aquarius. That the 3 outer planets, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, all making harmonious aspects to each other in yin energy. Now, essentially, in a nutshell, this is changing and upgrading our collective consciousness. So we are able, how many cards you got there? We are able to engage in the tools of this new paradigm that we've moved into, because we've shifted timelines. We're in a new paradigm, and now we're figuring out what the new tools are, what the landscape is, kind of like 2 of Wands energy. And we are getting a lot of support, and with the Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, all in yin energy, right? So in a nutshell, this is cultivating and bringing nuance and depth. We're observing, we're letting things unfold, we're letting everything rest and digest and really integrate in these yin energies of Pluto, our rooted magnetism, our power to transform and work with the magical reality of abundance that is serving our soul's individual path. Sorry about that, Libra. There was postman at the door, so messages coming in. So everything. So then they're all going to move into yang signs next year, right? So this is when we then, through this cultivation period, are then instinctively through our actions going to be in alignment with that. Can't wait. So that energy is locked into this moon. And we've also added on Ceres, who is, as I said, an asteroid, and she represents the harvest. She's the grain mother, the earth mother. She represents nurturing, nutrients and nourishment, itoe, and the bounty, like resources. And she's coming into a conjunction with Pluto, and they are both trine the moon. And so Capricorn for you is in your 4th house of your roots and your foundations, your ancestors, both blood and soul lineage, right? This is your parental figures, the roof over your head, and the things that you do in private. It's your foundational space, and Pluto's done its final transit. It left last night around 9:30 here in London. And so you've closed out a huge chapter around the power of your foundational space. You may have gone through some things around parental figures or the ancestors, around relationship dynamics, right? Those things that we learn very early on that we then go and recreate in different relationship dynamics. Maybe clearing out some ancestral work around scarcity, all of that kind of thing. But in general, with Ceres and Pluto, there's an element of really realizing the resources that you have within yourself, within your foundational space, that can never be shaken now. For some of you, this might be, if we're thinking sort of love relationships, this could be about having that conversation to move in with someone, right? Or really just finding that your relationships at home are really in alignment. And Neptune is over in Pisces, which is in the 6th house of work. It's the adult in the room. Work, how you work, basically how you figure things out, right? And then put that into practice. Physical health, routines, co-workers, so therefore collaboration, pets, and therefore acts of service. So Neptune is dissolving any structures, especially linked into the 4th house and the 8th of relationship dynamics, 4th house, parental figures, ancestors, Sun over in Scorpio, how you value yourself. 6th house, the adult in the room, the more you understand how you work, right, how you collaborate, the healthier your relationships are going to be. Now, Libra risings, regulars, you know, I've been on your case about relationships in your life that do not serve you, right, that do not serve your life purpose, that do not serve you collaborating and working together. You're going to have issues, right? Because the universe wants you to move away from those. And so this combination with Neptune, who's wanting to sort of dissolve the illusion that there is abundance and the capacity to collaborate with healthy relationship dynamics beyond anything you may have learnt and been conditioned from. This is birthing you into this new world of really being able to be in your power when it comes to how you engage with the outside world. Ishala dum 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 isha. That was pretty cool. And it annoyed me that I didn't quite get it in the collective reading, although I did but not so straightforwardly, is that all of that I've just talked about, the way that the aspects, the lines on the chart look, they form a cradle. And I only picked that up in the Gemini reading, that we are genuinely being rebirthed with this full moon. So we can create from a place of abundance. Now we want to look to where Venus is, because Venus rules this moon. I'm being very distracted by one of the black cats that's hanging out, as I said, in this incarnation, up a tree, staring at a pigeon in a different tree. Good luck up there, my love. Venus. Whatever's going on with Venus is influencing Taurus and therefore influencing this moon. She's also influencing you, Libra. And Venus is in Capricorn, along with Pluto and Ceres, but she's at the beginning of degrees of Capricorn. And she is square the nodes. And you know you've got that south node in your sign and the north node in Aries over in the house of the other, of important relationships, one-on-one relationships in your life. And then the house of the self, that Libra energy. Itiala, wait. Itiala ma do shile moya la di shala ma at it. And so she's squaring that from your home. And squares can bring about conflict, drama, frustration, right? Winning at all costs. So on one side, I can see having some words with people that you may live with of feminine energy that is not sex specific, but that can come up. But overall, for your energy, this is about building, because squares are about building. They're about creating in the 3D realm. They're very, very powerful. And so it's square the south node in your sign, the north node in Aries, again of like wanting you to feel good in your foundations, establishing a higher level of commitment in regards to love, connection, desire, harmony, creativity from your root system, and that is wants to build with this refinement of self that you've been going through with the south node, and a real sort of expansion into new territory when it comes to working with the other. Ishala dieni moyela disheni motofiela dishana ma ot. So that's really powerful. It's tying in that eclipse cycle. Right, so it's really adding on another level of weight to this full moon, with Venus influencing it with those eclipses. Now, Venus is in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. So we go and look to where Saturn is. And Saturn is in Pisces. Dishalama, disheniala, dishanama, ot. And Pisces, as I said, it's the adult in the room, and Saturn being there is one of the reasons why I've been focusing on highlighting if you've got distorted relationships in your life that aren't serving your long-term, that aren't working, that aren't serving your long-term goals, of meaning you take care of your health, that you can collaborate, you can work, you can be the adult in the room and still have fun and be in co-creation with others. Doesn't just have to be romantic. Saturn's going to be like, bye, this isn't working, I'm over it. And Saturn's been retrograde for ages, and Saturn went direct on the day of this full moon. I'm going to be pulling some cards on Saturn. I'm doing that right now, as well as 2 cards for Uranus. First up will be the Uranus cards, and then will be the Saturn cards. So Saturn is giving you a real sense of level of responsibility and duty and maturity around your physical health, around routines, around work and working with other people. But it's been retrograde for a while, so we've been cultivating inner authority, inner resilience, a sense of commitment to your inner legacy that's going to serve you being the adult in the room and being able to walk your path with strength into the future. And so now we're seeing more of that resonance. We're going to see that more outwardly manifest. You feeling more in your power when it comes to work, and really feeling a level of maturity and responsibility to taking after yourself and being the adult in the room. So this is influencing Venus and therefore influencing this moon. So as I said at the beginning, it's either was happening on the 15th or the 16th of November, and the 15th was a Friday and the 16th was a Saturday. Friday is Venus's day and the 16th is Saturday's day. So we have Saturn's day even. So we have this blend, this doubling up of the Venus Saturn energy, and that is genuinely with Venus in the 4th, of releasing limiting beliefs around what you've learned from your parental figures or growing up, of like how to love, how to be in a state of communion with others in a really healthy way. Like squaring those nodes, building from a different dynamic away from that, a real release from that. In alignment with Saturn, who wants these things to work and wants these things to be healthy and supportive. Now, Saturn is in Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter. So where's Jupiter? Well, Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini. In your 9th house, I love a Jupiter in a 9th house transit. If you've not caught the Jupiter and Gemini transit series, all the planets have their own playlists. It's really easy to find. I do recommend, you're not going to have it for another 12 years. Jupiter in the 12th, you're just reevaluating and reassigning and aligning with the inner wisdom within yourself around your perspectives, right? Around how you see the world, your morals, your ethics, your philosophies, how you map yourself out everywhere. And so Jupiter's there and influencing Saturn of saying, okay, right, so we want these relationships to work alongside your perspective. So often I just think of the amount of relationships that I'm aware of where they don't really know each other and they don't really communicate and they've been together for years. And there's a level of sacrifice that goes beyond compromise in terms of health and all of that is just, it's almost like they're both constantly hitting their heads against a wall, expecting it to not hurt. It's heartbreaking to see, but you know, their souls signed up for that particular experience. I've certainly been in that experience myself. But Jupiter's like, oh, it's not that you gotta know, you gotta believe in everything with each other, right? And this is not just romantic, it's friends, it's business partners, it's your relationship just in general with the outside world and how that world matches you based on these perspectives from a place of working together from strong foundations. Back into that moon. The Jupiter's kind of like, well, I want us to sort of be able to, you know, find wisdom in that sharing. As I said, it's not necessarily that you've got to agree with each other all the time, but there's a sense of openness and curiosity, and they're willing to shift and change, that the mutability of Gemini. Now, where Mercury rules Gemini, so where's Mercury? Mercury's over in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. So even though this is a Taurus moon ruled by Venus, actually everything that I've just talked about is being ruled by Jupiter and Mercury, because they're in what's called mutual reception. And this is when two planets are in each other's realms. They're basically on psychic hotline with each other. They're facilitating each other's journey. They know where everything is in these realms. They're like really elevated. So we have this feedback loop between Jupiter and Mercury, and Sagittarius is your third house of communication. So Mercury being there, it's going to retrograde then, I think it's next week, before the Sagittarius new moon at the very least. For an astrologer, I am genuinely quite terrible with dates. And so it's in the third house of how you bring those big picture philosophies up in the ninth into your day-to-day, how you find meaning in the day-to-day. It's your local community. It's the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. It is the lens in which you communicate through. And so Mercury and Jupiter, in the collective tarot reading, it was mostly swords, which links one into that Algol Uranus liberation energy of perspectives that then feed the body, and then the Jupiter Mercury energy governing it, of like the information that you're collecting, how you're communicating. I can really see an elevation of you being able to speak your truth with the outside world, you being very confident within yourself, in your perspectives and how you understand your day-to-day, the meaning, and you're not necessarily getting knocked off your perch by the bigger outside world or other people in your life or whatever may be a little bit of a struggle bus. And overall, I can definitely see really heightened levels of downloads coming in from source over the next 6 months, in regards to how, like, elevating the meaning that you're finding in the day-to-day, right? And elevating your perspectives. So you're feeling good, you're feeling abundant. So that's the moon side of it, right? What's going on with the sun? Now, the sun is traditionally ruled by Mars, right? Because it's in Scorpio, and Scorpio is traditionally ruled by Mars, which is what I work with. So we want to look to where Mars is. Mars is in Leo. Who rules Leo? Well, that's the sun. So we have another mutual reception, but this time with the sun and Mars. And so there's a feedback loop between Mars and the sun. You have Leo over in your hopes and your dreams, friends, groups and alliances, and reaping the benefits from your 10th house. I love a Mars in the 11th transit. This is you putting in action around your hopes and your dreams. You might spend a lot more time with bigger groups, friends, groups and alliances, and overall the actions that you're taking are in alignment to reaping the benefits from your 10th house. And that's in alignment with your values, your resources, your skills and your tools. So the vision and the clarity from the sun is feeding into your motivation, your drive and your action over in the sign, in regards to just the confidence in yourself and knowing where you're headed and what you're doing, even if it's on an instinctual level rather than a conscious level, right? You're going to observe your actions, right? But you're going to get a lot of clarity from the sun. Remember, all of this is embedded for the next 6 months in these areas of your chart, that you're going to get a lot of facilitation from the sun around value and how you value yourself and your skills and tools. It can see more flow, as I said, more just like your Mars taking action around your hopes and dreams and facilitating reaping the benefits from your life purpose, your career of the 10th house, and finding more resonance with bigger groups and feeling more in your power to do things in a way that feels good for you. And so that's kind of like balancing out any distortions you may have with the outside world and with relationships, that is really going to highlight through your determination or to take action whether the things in your life are stepping up to the same level. And it's not in a judgy way of whether they are or not. That's up to them. That's up to that situation and that scenario, and just trusting in the process of your embodiment rather than externalizing to the outside world for reciprocity. Right, gonna get an oracle. I'm gonna do 2 oracle cards from my 2 favorite decks at the moment. All the decks in the description box, by the way, if any of them take your fancy. That's too many cards. 1 card, please. There we go. Ituela. Dishanimo tuela. Dialama. Libra, the node's going to leave your sign. It's going to leave your sign in January. It will be heading into your 12th house. That's going to be a powerhouse after the transit that you've just had. That's a real refinement of your unconscious spaces. I'm going to be doing a Virgo, Pisces, North Node, South Node axis transit series at the beginning of next year. But, you know, I just wanted to let you know that you've not got long with the South Node in your sign. Because even though it's a very powerful, very important, phenomenal transit, not the easiest. Not the easiest. So well done for getting through it. I take my hat off to you. And there we go. Okay, so let's get into the tarot. So first up, that sort of shadow challenges, inner work that you might have been doing, that is being closed out, right? The end of the cycle of that. We have the Death card and the Page of Wands. In reverse. So there's a cycle of letting go that is coming to a close, right? This is the Scorpio energy of things that have had an authority over you, but that they no longer serve you. But there is this element of the constant transformation and the purge and the letting go and the grief that can come with the Death card. It's very powerful. It's major arcana, but it's saying that whatever you've been going through in terms of that refinement of self around relationship dynamics and your own value over the last 6 months, and you may have felt just things around you just falling away because of this, that it's like the universe has been clearing out the clutter. And with that Page of Wands in reverse, right? So that's about the ability to speak from your instincts, from your truth, from your passions, from your desires, a blockage around communication, being able to, you know, be in your power when expressing your needs, expressing your wants. Think of the moon, right, which represents that in terms of those relationship dynamics. Also a blockage of opportunities, of new opportunities coming through. And that might be to do with relationships, that might be to do with the way, you know, 3rd house communication, as well as your hopes and dreams. Like certainly just feeling like things are a bit stunted because you've had to go through this clearing out process. You've had to go through these blockages of your throat chakra in order for you to really work out, okay, well, what is it do I really want to say and how do I want to say it? Or do I even need to say it, or can I just walk away? So that's coming to a close, the sense of your throat chakra being blocked and this this restriction around moving forwards, right? So the death card is about letting go of things from the past. It is about moving into new territory, but it's not like an activation in the it's not like an activation of a new cycle. It's a closing out of an old cycle. So there's this sense of this needed to get cleared out in order for the next stage to come through. So what is being what is being integrated into your vessel with this full moon? We have the Ten of Swords in reverse and the World, right? So the Ten of Swords is about things that have immobilized you, right? There's an element of betrayal. This may be words that someone said to you when you were very young, that have just stuck in your spine. It's very karmic, so it's also linked into the ancestors and past lives of these perceptions, these ideas, these thought processes that can keep us stagnant, keep us still. But we need to go through those cycles in order, like with so many, because of the density of the framework that we're currently existing in, although we're evolving out of it. It sometimes requires that challenge for us to really wake up and realize, okay, no, I can still get up, I can still move despite all of this. But essentially the Ten of Swords in reverse is all these swords are falling out. There's a sense of movement, there's a sense of momentum. So those restrictions around resources from the outside world, or feeling good in the outside world as well as the relationship dynamics, right? Of rather than just feeling stuck and stagnant, there's a sense of movement here and this sense of liberation out into the world. And then we have the world itself, and this is Saturn's card, and this is know thyself and the world will open up to you, right? This is the end of the major arcana. There's a sense of a beginning again, because you've gone on a journey to really know who the F you are, that it clears away so many boundaries, so much clutter, so many things we think we need to protect ourselves from, because we strip it all back and we becoming more in our power. And the more that we strip back those energies, those walls, those sense of distance and isolation, or those versions of self that no longer suit, the more we then co-create with the universe, right? So this is the world opening up. So I really love that in terms of your engagement with the outside world, as well as sort of with the relationships, because you see that figure, she's by herself, she is rid of masks, she's unclothed, she's got purple wrapped around her, which represents royalty, and that's what crown chakra energy. And she's similar to the star in terms of that sense of freedom, that sense of liberation, right? She's gone through the process of figuring out who you are in order to then go out in the world without externalizing yourself to the outside world. And, you know, it's something we all struggle with. And so this is beautiful coming in. I really like this. What is being activated? What is the download you're then working with over the next 6 months? We have the Moon, hello Pisces, and the Queen of Pentacles. Like this. I like this a lot. So 1, the Moon, heightened sensitivity and downloads and clues from source, from the 8th house. Lots and lots and lots and lots of downloads. Each early more very psychic card. This tapping into the unseen realms. And those downloads you're then going to have, they're going to give you this element of resources and abundance and cultivating that frequency. So like really laying down a really strong foundation of you feeling incredibly abundant and your capacity to cultivate with it, right? With that Queen of Pentacles. I'm also getting in terms of what we were saying about the 6th house of Pisces, of work, right? When you figure out how you work, you can then have healthier relationships. You know what works and how to work with others, right? So you can be sort of the bigger person in those situations, or simply walk away. That having the Moon and the Queen of Pentacles is kind of saying, well, if it's not working and it's not nourishing, I'm not interested. But the Moon also, as well as our intuition, does represent our needs and our nourishment, a sense of evolution as well, with the wolf and the dog there, right? In that pathway going up the mountain of an evolutionary process around you taking care of your needs and knowing you have the resources within you to do so, which is then going to create more space for you to enjoy the outside world, enjoy relationships. Because again, I keep wanting to say, not externalizing your needs to the outside world. What did we have at the bottom of the deck? This I pulled from the bottom of the deck when I finished this row, and this one came after these. We got the 8 of Wands. Hello, Mercury and Sagittarius. as I said, going to retrograde soon. This is alignment, right? This is your capacity, one, to communicate from a place of truth that is aligned in your nature, as well as things going on that are all in alignment for the next stage of your journey, right? Rather than this sort of stuck energy, we're now in our flow, we're now moving with ease, and there's an alignment coming in, and that can obviously cover all the sort of things that I've brought up in this reading already. Okay, how to work with this energy. Really like that Moon and Queen of Pentacles. Very yin, very nurturing, really allowing you to integrate this in a very healthy way by bringing in this activation, and then tying in with what I was saying about the abundance of us having a faith and a knowing, a more sort of subtle energy understanding, rather than the sun of the vision, of the clarity of that sense of faith and trust of the magical reality. This is really like sort of sinking into your water body and your physical vessel, that things will unfold in the subtle ways, in the unseen ways, in the peculiar ways that we're then becoming really open to, rather than expecting things to come in a linear formation. So how to work with this energy? We have the 10 of Wands and the 6 of Swords. So that 10 of Wands is calling you, with the 6 of Swords, is calling you to reflect on the burden, right? The weight of it all, of not like this is you doing all the things. This can be like having to do all the things, not having the resources you need, or getting the resources you need but not having any support to do the things. This can be about in relationships where you're doing all the heavy lifting, right? And you can't even enjoy the experience. And so it's calling you to reflect on where you feel like this, and really do a little bit of inner journey of why are you still engaging with that energy, right? It's not that it's bad to have lots of things to do. It's our perception around them. So often when we do things over and over again and we think we're going to get a different situation, and then we get angry if that situation doesn't change, that's on us. That's not on the situation or even the person, whatever it is that you're connecting to in regards to this, perhaps all of those things. This energy is saying, it's calling you to sort of focus on something different, right? Reorientate yourself and your mindset, because that 6 of Swords is very protected, right? This is about moving from troubled waters to calmer waters, moving from survival to thriving. And what are you going to take with you in this transition phase? You're going to take with you things that serve you where you thrive, not where you're just based off of survival mechanisms. So it's really calling you to look at why might I feel like this, and do a real deep dive and reorientate to that getting this energy, which is really powerful, like an utter G is being able to carry all these 10 wands. Like, it's hats off to you to it, but can you just spin it on one finger, right? I often get this image of like holding up one finger and being able to spin these 10 of wands. That's the power of the magician right now, of what we're working with. So this is calling you to reflect on what perspectives for you give you lightness of being and give you energy to do all the things, and give you the sense of thriving rather than survival, and then you'll just notice what isn't doing that, right? And there's a sense of calling yourself to move away from those things rather than the entanglement. Okay, what's Uranus up to? Uranus is up to 9 of Wands in reverse, 4 of Cups in reverse. So comparison is the thief of joy, looking at other people's happy lives, celebrations, unity, flow, abundance, and being a bit jealous of it, but not doing anything about it in your own life. Bit of depression, bit of stagnation. We've all been there, we've all done it. And it's this sense of, just not celebrating other people's wins, and only focusing on the self in a way that's negative and stagnant. So very, like, these are two big cards that often show up in the 8th, of looking at the outside world and what everybody else has, and then focusing on your lack rather than your abundance. 9 of Wands is all by yourself, always on the defensive, burnt out, exhausted, right? Still standing, but like constantly prepped for a fight and just burnt out by all of it. And it's not that you might not have ever faced that where people have come at you, but it's like with both of these energies, do we need to orientate ourselves in this way? Can we find a way of switching them? Anyway, Uranus is helping you with that because they're coming up in reverse. So Uranus is clearing your path. Stop externalizing and focusing on others. Stop worrying that things are going to turn out bad and that you've got to sort it out and you've always got to be prepared, right? Those mechanisms aren't going to serve you anymore. What is Saturn up to over in Pisces? So this is work, how you work, physical health, routine. Saturn's now direct. We've got that 5 of Wands, which is kind of like there's a lot of movement, there's no momentum. It's kind of frustrating, play fighting, but like things going on, but nothing else, nothing getting elevated. It's not high level conflict. It's just like lots of things, just nothing progressing. And it's come in reverse. So Saturn's releasing this sort of pent up kind of childish frustration and childish battling, and that can be seen as, say, you've got a lot of conflicting stuff going on in your life and prioritizing health, work and routine and working with your co-workers and having a healthy relationship with your pets, whatever it is, that they're all in conflict with one another and nothing's getting sorted out. This also could represent, in terms of relationship dynamics, of that 6th house of collaboration, of working together, of it not working, of there always being conflict. And this can be coming from that Venusian energy over in the 4th and Pluto and Ceres, of your parental figures always being like low level conflict. And then you're recreating that when you're trying to work with somebody else. As I said, not just romantic, can be in any form. Anyway, Saturn's putting that in reverse, along with the Strengths card, which is your hopes and your dreams. So there's something around here about Saturn activating a level of commitment towards your hopes and your dreams. There's also a deep sense of vulnerability with the Strengths card, right? It's your instincts with your higher mind, and they're working together. They're being very vulnerable with each other, but they're not taking advantage of each other. So there's something about co-creation here, collaboration, powerhouse of strength through your heart, right? A real sense of love and commitment. And or kindness to yourself as well as the courage to get up and go and do the damn thing. What's at the bottom of the deck? 3 of Wands in swords, even in reverse. Okay, so this is heartache. This is things, words, ideas, perspectives that have blocked your heart. Doesn't just have to be romantic, can be anything that stops your heart. Funny, you got the Strengths card that came with that stops your heart from being its fullest, right? And so that can be situations that haven't worked out, that are actually serving you in the long term, and coming to a higher level of peace with all of that and letting those swords fall away. Okay, oracle cards. We have, this card doesn't come out very often. Let me see if I can get it like really so you can see it. Many masks, the authentic self. Let me get the books. So this is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. As I said at the beginning, all the decks are in the description box. So, the authentic self, energizing internal allies, a conscious shift. We live in a world where everyone we see wears a mask. We wear these masks to cover up and protect who we really are. We learn to do so because we've been conditioned to try and appear a certain way to fit into society. Masks allow us to belong, so we remain within the confines of what is expected. Masks are not inherently bad. Rather, they provide context and structure for our personalities and soul's expression. Some of us might believe that a particular mask, fixed and hardened onto us, is our permanent face. That's the Taurus energy. It's fixed in nature, right? How we show up for others, how others show up for us because of what, is that, what's that phrase? You show others how to love you by how you love yourself. Itala, dishenima otoela, disatofala. Itana, dishania motofiechana. We forget that we are living beings with a multitude of faces, enabling us to experience a fuller, more vibrant world. So this fixed energy of Taurus and Scorpio is being governed by the mutable, changeable energy of Gemini and Sagittarius. So I love that this is kind of summing up that capacity to move and be mutable and adapt with, and then maintain that in the fixed sense. Your authentic essence doesn't want to be constrained by others' expectations anymore. Now is the time to strip away the mask you've accepted and discover who you really are. A new self is emerging and your perception changes as you adopt new ways of being. Right now is really important to allow yourself to experiment, to experience the world in all its myriad potentials and possibilities. Try on different masks and let yourself be fluid and curious. How will you know what you love and what you resonate with if you don't take off the mask you've always worn and test drive some new ones? Your authentic essence will never change. It will only express itself differently through these optional selves. Through trial and error, you discover more and more about who you want to become. What would it feel like to explore this side of you? Anything is possible if you're willing to open up to your potential. You truly can move beyond the barriers that society has set. Use your imagination and step into the magic. Well, that was beautiful. That summed up things very nicely. Okay, let's go with Rainbow Brainskull, my latest Oracle deck, which was an early Christmas present. And I was very lucky. It turned up for the Scorpio transit. And so appropriate. And they're kind of brutal, but I love them. I love it so much. Ride ends, choose arm position. None of this is forever. Enjoy it while it lasts. In the end, you will regret being scared and rigid. Take things lightly and remember the big picture. All things must pass. So this is the big... Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. Big change cycle, right? And this sense of release and liberation of like your arms being able to go up, and rather than expecting the same old situations and the same old dynamics. And so the more that you practice this, the more you're going to be able to bring in this real nourishing energy, because you're open to the experience and the nourishment and the love, however it shows up. Oh, right at the bottom of the deck. I like this one. I like the imagery of this one. We have I am brand new plus teenage me plus childhood me plus baby me plus source, right? That kind of acknowledgement of the conditioning. Every past experience is still inside you. Don't yearn for the past as if it's gone. Appreciate your memories as what they truly are, an integrated part of your eternal being. So again, the sort of acknowledgement of the past, of what you've worked through and how you got to where you are now. But you are in this new energy, right? Where your arms are going up. Your arms are going up. You're not worried. And you're allowing that curiosity and this new mask to come through, and be playful with it, right? Without going into the fear of the worry of the just all of this is in the upright, right? All of this energy, this is getting cleared out. Oh, Libra, what a reading. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed reading for you. It is always an honor and a privilege. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to hit that like button. If you want a personal reading, my details are everywhere, perhaps to deep dive a little further on this, or sort of sum up everything that you've been going through with that Libra South Node. Oh my goodness, and that eclipse cycle. Libra, be good to yourselves. Be good to those around you. Safe travels and be well until we meet again.